My name is Matt Bulka, and I am the Esports lead for Jefferson County Public Schools. And I want to talk to you guys about what esports is, why we're doing it, and the impact that it's going to have on our students in the short term and the long term. So we're going to go through what esports is, but first let's really talk about these kids. This was my esports team last year at Thomas Nelson High School, where I was a teacher, an esports coach, and program founder. This is another picture of my team from last year. This is after our first playoff win ever back in January of 2019. So let's talk about these kids. Just like the students in your classrooms, the students that you know and see around the district, all of these kids carry things with them that we don't necessarily see unless we get to know them. One of these students was in credit recovery his senior year to repeat his entire junior year. He passed his class in order to remain eligible for my esports team. Another esports athlete developed a close relationship with his teammates to help him cope with his parents' divorce. One of my players had autism, was barred from participating in marching band, and found friends playing League of Legends for the first time. Another one of my students was a shy wallflower in a class, and he didn't have the opportunity to lead his peers in a way that excited him. Another one of these students in his first 2 years of high school had 90 behavior referrals and had serious trouble controlling his temper. And another one of my students here was kicked out of his dad's house because he was tired of cooking and cleaning all the time. So let's flip the narrative on these students, and let's talk about how esports really helped them develop into better people, better athletes, better students through this lens of esports. So let's talk about the what and the why. Pictured here are some students from Central High School playing some Rocket League to get ready for the fall season. So what are esports? Great question. I'm glad you asked. Esports is essentially competitive video gaming. Almost all of these games are team games. So it involves teams of 3 or 5, sometimes competing against one another on a large stage. This is the International. It's an international event for Dota 2. And last year, the prize pool for that was $34 million, which is insane. This is League of Legends. This is a game that we play in the state of Kentucky for a KHSAA state championship in the fall and the spring. And it involves 2 teams of 5 working together, picking and choosing from 140 different characters to build a team that has a composition that can beat another team. Fortnite, everybody's very familiar with. We don't participate in any Fortnite leagues or anything in JCPS, but the Fortnite World Cup happened over the summer, and some of you may have heard, a 16-year-old won $3 million by winning the Fortnite World Cup, and that is more than Tiger Woods won for winning the Masters, in case you were wondering. This is Overwatch, and again, another game we do not compete in, but this is the Overwatch, their first league. It's the championship of that between the London Spitfire and the Philadelphia Fusion. And Overwatch is very cool in that they actually have an entire league set up where there are different teams for different cities, just like a traditional sport like baseball or football. And these teams travel and compete throughout the season. Rocket League is a game that we compete in for state titles. It's essentially best described as Hot Wheels soccer. And Rocket League, I think this season it was $250,000 prize pool. Season 6 and 7, I believe, were $1 million prize pools. And I think they're just starting season 8 in October of 2019. This is Teamfight Tactics. It is an auto chess game. So it's based on the characters from League of Legends, which we participate in, but it's kind of like chess. The different moves have different abilities. The different units have different abilities, and when you combine several of the units together, it makes them stronger, and you're trying to, again, outsmart your opponent, outthink them, outplay them to win this game. And you play as yourself, but you play against 7 other people all at the same time. And really, college esports, just as it has ballooned professionally and has ballooned on Twitch, it's gotten really, really popular with colleges as well. And we're going to talk about all the different scholarship opportunities and things that are associated with that. So let's talk about why. Why are we doing esports? The first is it is incredibly inclusive. There is no traditional barrier that we see with normal athletics. You don't have to be an athletic person to participate in esports, and that really is important. This is Microsoft's adaptive controller for the Xbox One, so you can see that even if you had other physical limitations, you can still participate through different methods. So let's talk about some of these kids that we were talking about before. And esports really helped to change the script on our particular student who had autism and couldn't do marching band. This student actually was one of the founders of our esports team and was one of the few females participating in esports on day one, which is really powerful, especially as a female, because there are so few that participate in esports. Let's talk about scholarships. We discussed college esports before. Pictured here is CJ Moritz. He is the coach of the Campbellsville University esports team. And Campbellsville University is really going all in on esports. I had several conversations with him last year. So esports are a very local thing. This is University of Pikeville, or UPike. They've been doing esports for years. Western Kentucky's getting into it. University of Louisville is ramping up into it. University of Kentucky has a club team. So you can see that this is a very popular thing among local teams, and we want to take advantage of that, partner with that, and prepare our students for that. The Ohio State University, they have a great esports team, and they also have an esports degree. So students can get a scholarship and go to school at Ohio State University to earn a degree in esports, and that goes into so much more than just playing video games. It goes into marketing. It goes into managing events. It goes into event production. There are so many facets to esports that we don't really think about. We just think of it as video games. So coming back to our kids here, the student who was in credit recovery wanted to stay eligible for the esports team, ended up passing all of his classes, graduated college ready, and enrolled for classes in the fall at ECTC. That's so powerful. That is directly affecting that child's future story and his plans for after high school. This student here, he was a wallflower before. He was voted as the team captain and the student council sponsor. He was approached by Campbellsville University for a possible scholarship interest, which is just awesome. And he was only a sophomore. Imagine how much better this kid is going to be at being a leader for his peers and at the game of League of Legends in his next 2 years of high school as he continues to help develop that program. And really, this is my Fortnite joke here, we are building the future for our students. There is so much information and research out there that show that students who are interested and participate in esports use that as a gateway to a technology job or a profession in the tech industry. There is so much that goes into just one League of Legends match that we don't see, and there's so much tech behind it. There's programming. Again, there's broadcasting. There's so much that happens behind the scenes there. So, looking at this, my student who had 90 behavior referrals had 7 his junior year. He learned to cope with his anger, and he's now in a student leadership class as a senior. He was my pride and joy of my esports team when it came to really the impact that it could have on a student. The student who had problems dealing with his parents' divorce. He gained communication skills, talked to his parents about it, and he could talk to them about his feelings and perceptions of their relationship and how it was affecting him. And my student who was kicked out of his house ended up coming to JCPS and ended up participating at Fairdale last season. So let's talk about the how. Pictured here is the esports team at Southern High School. So when we talk about how we do esports, really we're going to be fighting against the 4 stigma and the national conversation. So let's talk about what these 4 stigma are that affect esports that we have to fight against constantly. And the first is gamers are out of shape and they don't take care of their bodies. So that's stigma number 1. So how do we fight this? We make our players work out. These are the swole bros of Cloud9 here. Cloud9 is a professional esports organization. The 2 of them play League of Legends. But I had my players last year work out before every practice, before every match. It's important, for them to take care of their bodies and to take care of themselves. But also it gets their juices flowing mentally and helps prepare them for the mental strain they're going to be under participating in these games. Our second stigma that we need to fight against is that gamers play games more than they study and their grades suffer. And it's so easy to counteract this. All we need to do is hold our esports players to the same eligibility standards of traditional sports. So if you wouldn't be eligible for football, why would you be eligible for esports? If you wouldn't be eligible for volleyball, why would you be able to play esports? It's the same thing. And if we want it to be taken seriously, we have to handle it the same way. The third stigma is that gamers are toxic while gaming and apathetic otherwise. Again, we need to hold our esports players to the same standard that we do every other sport. So, gamers are not the only people deemed toxic, right? We have so many musicians and athletes and politicians and public figures who publicly say things that are horrible. And we need to, as a society, be better about that. And through esports, if we hold our students to a high standard, hopefully we can help to phase that out. And finally, our final stigma is that gamers only like to play games where you shoot and kill other people. And we are going to directly counter that. There is no shooting in League of Legends. There's no shooting in Teamfight Tactics. There's no shooting in Rocket League. There's no shooting in Madden. There's no shooting in NBA 2K. In League of Legends, the terms kill and death are used. However, how is this any different from volleyball, where you kill the ball? How is it any different from football, where you're taught how to properly tackle someone to the ground? How's it any different from archery, where we teach our athletes how to shoot a bow and arrow? How's it different from wrestling, where we have our students learn how to pin someone to the ground? And you can go into any of these sports practices, anybody training or anything, and there is definitely going to be the term suicide used when we have our students run from line to line. So if we are going to tackle this in esports, we need to tackle it in sports in general. So let's talk about the national conversation. Playing violent video games causes violence in real life. There are several studies that have been done on this, and you can pause this and read as you feel free. So starting in 2005, the American Psychological Association published a study definitively linking violent video games to violent behavior among children. In 2015, so 10 years later, they revisited their study and they determined the link was still there, but they said their analyses showed major inconsistency. In 2016 and through to 2019, there were several studies done that showed that violent crime and violent aggressive behavior have either decreased or have increased in such a way that it's deemed minimal and should be considered negligible. So the thing is, if kids are around violence, they're going to emulate that violence. But seeing violence through video games, through movies, through television, has not been shown to increase aggressive or violent behavior. And even if it were, the Center for Disease Control said that school connectedness is found to be the strongest protective factor for both boys and girls to decrease substance abuse, school absenteeism, early sexual initiation, violence, and risk of unintentional injury. So, if we think that our esports athletes and our gamers are the people who are most at risk for that, why would we not want them to feel connected to our school through something like esports? Remember, we're talking about kids, and if we want to flip this narrative, we're going to have to do it by flipping their narratives. And for me, that's just the power that esports has, in that it can change directly what these students experience through school, after they graduate, and it really can set them up for success in the long run. So thank you for tuning in. We will have more videos appearing. We will have all videos that show up on the JCPS Digital Learning channel. If you would like to learn some awesome things for your classroom or for your school, please go here and subscribe. Or if you would like to tune into more videos that are informational about esports or matches that we have throughout the year, please subscribe to the JCPS Digital Learning channel. Finally, we have a JCPS Esports Twitter account. You can please follow that for updates throughout the season. We have an email if you have any questions, and we will be streaming matches throughout the season on twitch.tv/JCPS Esports. If you go to that website at the bottom, bit.ly/JeffCoEsports, there are helpful links for what these games are, how your students can be involved, and how you can become better at these games. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. I appreciate you, and let's go JCPS Esports.